What up?
What's up with you?
We did it. How you doing?
For sure. I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I'm all right. You're in Philly, right?
For sure.
Born and raised.
For sure.
All right, my man. Ivan Robinson's my man.
That's my old head. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask a couple questions about you. So, how many amateur fights did you have?
I had 16.
Okay. At what weight?
The lowest 41, the highest 78.
Okay. And then a pro, you were what? Heavy?
Pro, I was from welterweight up to heavyweight.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you feel the most comfortable at?
54.
54?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what made you transition out of that into training and
Always had an eye for boxing. So, you know what I mean? Even though I wasn't able to go to the highest level as a pro myself, you know what I mean? I always seen myself working with guys and you know, working with champions and shit like that. So I started training when I was, I think, 26?
Okay. Okay. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 36.
36. Okay, so you've been training like 10 years.
Yeah.
And so for you, the fighting, is that done or you might do it again?
No, I rumble any time. As long as it's, yeah. I like to fight.
All right. So when you were actually fighting, who are some guys that you moved around with, some big names, something that's a good story?
Oh man, shit. Hank Lundy out of Philly, Gabe Rosado, Mike Jones, shit, Tito Serrano,
Okay.
shit, Joey DeWaco, Jesse Hart, Julian Williams, Naeem Nelson. There's plenty of them.
Okay.
I mean, we got Philadelphia, so there's guys all over, you know?
Yeah.
And then I later on got to spar Curtis Stevens, Saddam Ali.
Oh, wow.
Guys like that. It's been a bunch of guys.
Wow. Yeah. Who do you think is the best fighter? If you had to choose, if you had to pick the best, let's say 2 or 3 out of Philly all time, who would it be?
That's hard, bro. That's hard. I mean, you could go like Benny Briscoe. You could say Joe Frazier and probably Bernard.
What about Meldrick?
Of course, Meldrick. He won a gold medal at 17, but I'm just saying I'm trying to go before him because I gotta pay homage to the ones before him.
Let me ask you this. Do you think in that fight for Chavez, let's say Richard Steele does not do that horrendous shit and the fight goes, bell rings, Meldrick wins, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that changes the trajectory of his career, or do you think the beating he took in that fight took its toll either way?
The beating was still a good beating, but here's the thing. When you do that to a guy, when you do something like that to a guy and there's 4 seconds left, 3 seconds left on the clock, he's mentally fucked up. So I think he was more mentally shot. Like, damn, like, see what happens is your whole life goes down a drain because all the fighting you did in your career, all the fighting he did that night, you like, damn, they just threw it away. So you start to believe nobody around you has your best interest, even if that's not true. But when something like that happens, it fucks with you so bad mentally that everything leaves you. You know what I mean? You're like, your confidence leaves you. You know what I mean? Your belief, everything that you once believed about yourself and about boxing, it all leaves that night. Now, if he lost fair and square, had he got knocked cold out, I think he would have been cool with it. But the fact that they stopped that fight and the shit was like 3 seconds left, that was bad, bro.
Gilly, I see you. Yeah, man, it was to me like I was 13 years old watching that fight, and I was like, what the? Because you realize, right? By the time it took them to walk to the center of the ring, the bell would have rang. They wouldn't even been able to throw punches at each other again.
Right.
It's like, what do you know? We talk about all these reffing jobs lately. Like, did you see the Rolly fight?
Yeah, I watched that fight.
What the hell was that? That's
what I'm saying. That guy was 40 years old. He waited his whole career to get to that point, and then here we are. He's winning the fight. If you're paying attention, he's winning the fight, and then the knockdown was faulty, But okay, let's say he knocked him down.
It was a push. It was a few punches and a forearm push.
It was a faulty knockdown. But then to stop it behind that without getting touched, that was rough. That was rough to see and rough to experience. You feel me?
And you know, when you look at the replay, when you look at who's the ref for that one?
Tony Weeks.
Weeks. When you look at Weeks' face, normally when a ref stops a fighter, he's looking at him, he's touching his face, he's kind of almost hugging him. Weeks kind of just looked away and was like, no, like his face was so guilty.
Yeah, he couldn't even look him in the, that's real shit.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, his face is, said the whole thing, but that was, but that Chavez fight, man, it's a crazy thing because Meldrick was landing them, I want to say on average, outlanding each exchange, what, maybe 4 or 5 to 1, something like that?
Yeah.
But those ones were no joke.
Punishing punches. Yeah, punishing. For sure.
After the fight, but he still won. I mean, Meldrick still clearly won.
Yeah.
And then after that, like you said, it fucked him up here.
Yeah, mentally, a fight does that to you. Like a fight like that, because you got to imagine, right? You hearing about Chavez, and you like, this dude a monster. Everybody's telling you he's a monster, and even though you feel it, you still saying fuck it. You biting down and you giving it all you got, and you make it to the finish line and you trip right before you get to the fucking line, and then they stop it. Like, that's crazy. That was
and don't forget, Chavez was what at that point, 87-0, I think.
Yeah, some shit like that.
And then he got 2 more gifts in his career before he got the Meldrick Taylor, the Pernell Whitaker draw, which was and then what's another one? Not just the Meldrick Taylor. I think Frankie Randall beat him and they gave it to Randall.
Yeah, yeah.
So who were your favorite fighters? Like any fighters that you looked up to or coming up?
Of course, from the beginning, Ali. Ali had a big impact on me because, at those times, it was just a lot going on, and he was fighting through it. But he was not only fighting through it, he was showing, full confidence. He didn't care where the fight was, who it was against. He was going to go in there and do what he had to do. And he stood up for the people as a man. So definitely Ali. Then as I really started getting into boxing and seeing different styles, Roy Jones.
There we go.
I was a big Prince Nassim Hamed. I love his confidence. I love his punching power. You know what I mean? His awkwardness. Pernell Whitaker. I started to love Pernell Whitaker when I started studying like the art, like placing your feet, making sure you're moving your head, rhythm. You know what I'm saying? When I started getting into all of that type of shit, I fell in love with Pernell. Then when I started learning the inside game, I loved watching James Toney, Bernard, guys like that. Then when it came to the showmanship, Hector Camacho, you know what I mean, guys like that, Roberto Duran, you know what I mean, guys who really, they was into it all the way, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, I had plenty of fighters.
That's a good list, and a lot of my guys are on that. Same guys is on your list, or on my list.
Yeah.
Prince Nassim, to me, I don't know why he doesn't come up as one of the hardest punchers ever in that talk, because I think he was.
Yeah, I think the only reason maybe they don't mention him so much is because of the weight class. He was a smaller guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what? Guys like Tank and these guys should be. He paved the way to bring big money and eyeballs to those lighter weight classes.
Yeah, he did. Real shit. I
mean, I was at that fight when he fought Kevin Kelly at the Garden. Because I mean, I'm from New York. I was at that fight, and the energy of that fight was insane.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, Prince was great, and the thing with him was weird because everybody was always saying from the beginning, oh, he's an amateur, he fights like an amateur, anybody will expose him, and I mean, Barrera ended up beating him, but it's like Wilder. When one punch can take you out, you know what I mean?
And he was, I mean, people probably was offended by him, but really, he made boxing exciting, especially at those times. You know what I mean? Nobody was talking to him, talking like that and performing like that at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And especially being a guy that small. And then I could imagine him being hyped as he was because he was from the UK. He wasn't from over there. You know what I mean? And they never had a fighter like that. You know what I mean? So,
and you have to remember, too, I think not only did he bring the lighter weights into the public eye, but he also made the ring entrance a whole new thing.
That's what I'm saying. He just was a show. When you got Prince and I seen her, man, you got a show all the way.
He was, yeah, man. He's somebody I want to interview, man. I'd probably be a little starstruck. I would hold it together, but I think I'd be a little starstruck.
Yeah, I understand.
You know,
hell yeah.
To me, my favorite fighter of all time, and who I think is the greatest of all time. Now, this is just boxing skill, not as a person, was Roy Jones.
Yeah. I mean, Roy was a freak, though. How could you not love Roy?
But people, what I don't like, and this is more people who've never fought, I think, because he lost at the end of his career, it erases everything he did in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Which
Roy, I mean, be real. You're not gonna see another Roy.
No.
Not gonna see.
No.
Another.
Like when you look at him, like I always tell people, the eyeball test. When you just see what he did, he was like and Roy's my boy. Like I've talked to him a bunch of times. He was like a Corvette amongst a bunch of Pintos. Yeah. That's how I felt. You know what I mean? Like,
real shit.
He was, you know, and I hate one thing I asked him recently, I was like, what would you have done different? He goes, well, if I knew the way that they would talk about me after, he goes, I probably would have just retired after the first Tarver fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's also hard as a fighter, I feel like, especially at that level, that kind of rush you get, and it's hard to walk away. People don't realize that.
People don't understand, right? Like when you standing in a ring and everybody's watching you and you're getting your name called individually, that's like a high in itself. And then for that bell to start and for everybody to get quiet for a split second and they want to see how this thing pop off. You know what I mean? Then it pop off and then it's like like me, I've been on the B side most of my career. So going into different arenas is boo, fuck you, is this. But at the end of the fight, it's like, yo, that was a good fight, bro.
Yeah.
That was a good fight. You did your thing. You held your own. You did this. You know what I mean? That's a great feeling, bro. At the end of the day, great feeling. And no matter how it turns out, you know what I mean? You're put in the elite category because it's a lot of other men in the world, men and women, who would never feel that feeling. Yeah.
People don't, man. I've talked to Kendall Gill, right? You remember him, the NBA player?
Yeah,
I go, yeah, he was in the 90s. He was a pretty good player. I go, what feels better? Because he was also a pro boxer. I don't know if you know this. He had I go, what feels better, hitting a game-winning 3 or knocking somebody out? And he didn't even stutter. He goes, knocking somebody out.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Because I remember at one time in my life as a kid, I was afraid to punch somebody in their face because you know how when you watch movies and shit, the guy hit him in the face, he falls out, look like he died and shit. So I'm like, I don't want to kill nobody.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I was a kid. I was like 5, 6 years old. But as you get older and you realize the world is a tough world, and you like, you know what? This is what people respect, punching people in the face. Sometimes you got to punch a guy in the face. And it was like, damn, that feeling, that was like the best feeling in the world. Punching somebody in the face. And then boxing allows you to punch people in the face and not get in trouble. So I just was like, sign me up.
Also, I feel like, when do you ever feel more clear, more mentally better than after you fight or work out?
Yeah.
I mean, it's for the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, real shit.
So you guys got out of Philly possibly the next dominant welterweight for many years to come. Yeah. Have you worked with him? I'm not sure the background.
I never trained him, but yeah, we worked together in the gym, little shit like that.
Right. And his pops trains him, right? Right. I'm talking, for those of you watching, I'm talking about Jaron Boots Ennis. I've been watching him from the beginning, and he kind of reminds me of if Crawford and Spence had a baby. That's what he reminds me of that.
I can see that.
Right? Because he switches. He's smart, but he has that aggressive shit that Spence has, but he has that tactical kind of slick shit that Crawford has.
Yeah.
Well, so on that topic, the $1 million question: who do you have winning that fight?
I mean, like I said, it's gonna be a great fight. I respect both fighters, but because the way the styles contrast, I got Crawford stopping Errol Spence in the 7th or 8th round. Only because Errol Spence is the type of guy who will push you to your limits. The thing is, Crawford, to me, doesn't have a limit. He will go as far as you go. When he begins to fight back, and I'm not saying he won't fight in the beginning of the fight, but I'm just saying when he begin to pick it up, I think it'll just end bad for Spence. That's just easy as I can sum it up. You know what I mean? I don't like to go all the way into it because then I could keep talking about it for time and time. But I just think Errol Spence is going to push so hard that he's going to force Crawford's hand, and you know his hand will come out victorious because he is a sneaky puncher. You know what I mean? People think for some reason people think his punch is not real, but it's a real shot, and he's stronger than what people give him credit.
You're talking about Buck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a wrestler. I mean, I know guys who I know guys who have moved around with him and whatever, and apparently he's like freak strong for his size.
Yeah. And I seen him in person. I could believe it from what I saw.
Well, so let me ask you this: I was along the same line of thought that you were with those two. Like it's close, but I'd have to lean towards Bud. But when I saw the size difference, now size doesn't always mean anything, but when you know how to use it, right? Do you think the size difference will make any difference?
It's really not that much different. If you saw when they was at the press conference, both times, Spence had on shoes that had like lifts in them.
That's what I heard, but he had like 2 inches on them.
Yeah, so he looked a lot bigger. But that night, he won't be that much bigger. Weight wise, he might be a little bigger, but height wise, it's not going to be a problem.
So you think that they're technically basically the same kind of frame?
Yeah. No. Errol Spence is a little more heavier up top. He is heavier up top, but Bud Crawford has like lanky arms. He got a lanky build. He's not really like a muscular guy, but he is strong though. Like you said, from the wrestling background, and you know whatever else he work on. But I don't think Errol Spence is really that much bigger. I think he's a big welterweight, but I don't think he's that much bigger than Bud Crawford.
You think hits harder?
I think Bud punches harder.
You know, I kind of agree, but like, you know, I do a lot of polls and stuff like on my YouTube channel. There's thousands of people, so you get a good feel for what the public thinks. Yeah. And majority of people think not only that Spence hits harder, but that he's going to win. Like I'm talking like 75%.
Yeah, of course. Listen. I'm not mad at anybody who bets on Spence because Spence is a safe bet because he consistently wears you down. The thing is, when you enter with a guy who's just as hungry as you and just as strong as you, you know what I mean? Things can go left sometimes. So I'm just looking forward to see what happens, really. But I always said this: who have we seen Errol Spence punch one time and stop him? Besides Ocampo with a body shot.
Yeah, you're right. He breaks you down more so.
Yeah, he more so just whoops on you. So what that means to me, he has a thudding punch, and it's a heavy punch, but it's not like a crack. You know what I mean? He won't just crack you one good time and you go out. He can hurt you. He can hurt you for sure, and he will hurt you. And I just mainly what I believe about him, he consistently hits you in spots where he breaks you down. If he hit you in your hip 3 good times, I think that hip would be damaged. You know what I mean? He punched his shoulder 3 good times, I think the shoulder would be damaged. You know what I mean? Things like that. So I think that's where he gets his leeway. Like that's where he pulls off once you start damaging you in the body, stuff like that, slowing you down, making you think. You know what I mean? And he is physically strong. He is.
I spoke with Chris Van Heerden, who fought Spence, also fought Boots. Yeah. And I was like, you know, my first question, I was like, who hits harder, Boots or Spence? And he said something interesting. He said Boots hits harder, punch for punch. But he said that Spence, and I don't know if you remember the fight with Boots, but it was like stopped, I think, from a cut the first round. So him and Boots and Chris didn't have that much fight in one round. But he said the thing with Spence, and that fight went whatever it was, he said that every single punch Spence throws is just as hard, and he's just consistent with like that's what, and I've heard that from a few other fighters about Spence. Yeah,
he's a locomotive. It take a lot to stop him. Take a lot, and then Boots is very accurate. Boots hurts you because he can punch you dead in your eye, dead in your nostril. You know what I mean? Dead in your ear, like you know what I'm saying. He hit you in direct spots. You know what I mean? So that's why it's different.
Wow. Okay. Do you think Boots right now could beat either of those two?
I think he got great chances because I think the youth is on his side. The biggest thing that impresses me about Boots is not what's in the gym, it's outside the gym. He don't live. He don't. Boots. The worst thing Boots might do is eat a snack or some shit. Like he don't smoke. He don't drink. You know what I mean? He not up all night. He don't party. You know what I'm saying? So that's what impresses me about Boots. That's why I would always bet on a guy like Boots. You know what I mean? Because I know he's not living dirty outside the gym.
Is his work ethic is crazy?
Yeah, his work ethic. I'm not trying to hype it up, bro. Listen, you know how a guy in the gym, you've been in the gym, right? You got and all that shit. You know how a guy start off round 1, round 2 might sound good, but then like the middle of 3 start to fade. 4 he fading. 5 it's like he bullshitting on the bag.
Yeah.
6 is like, all right, this is my last round.
Yeah.
So with Boots, the first round and the 15th round is going to sound exactly the same.
Okay.
So to sum that up, I'm not going to try to get all the way into detail everything he do, but the first round sound just like the 15th round.
Does he work crazy long round? Does he do like, I think Spence does like an hour or two, because I'm cool with Derek James. Spence does like, I think, an hour straight, no break, even while he's fighting, they'll just get a squirt in the water bottle, but just keep going.
I mean, a lot of boxers, to me, they do shit like that because if we talk about boxing, then we got to remember there's an endurance sport. So you're going to have days where you do shit like that. I've seen Boots do shit like that. You know what I mean? So that's, to me, a lot of boxers do shit like that. It's an endurance sport. You know what I mean? You got to push.
Yeah, for sure. So what fighters have you worked with?
So my first pro that I had myself was a guy named Anthony Abuzazi. He's from my city, South Philly kid. He moved to Chicago at 3-1 record. And then shortly after that, I got a call from Gabe Rosado. I did 3 camps with Gabe Rosado. I worked with Todd and Think made light heavyweight. I worked with Joey DeWaco, Tito Serrano, Avery Sparrow. Oh man, it's a bunch of them. I just gotta keep thinking. It's a bunch of them though. I work with a bunch.
What's your goal as a trainer? Like what? Huh?
I said my goal as a trainer.
I mean, like what do you want to hit where you're like, all right, you know what, I've made it as a trainer?
I mean, if I can get, I could say if I can get 10 world champions, I'll be cool with that. Like 10 world. I'll be
high goals, but it's hey man. It's
I mean, it's high goals because you know what I mean. It's not likely for the average person, but it's like I just see myself doing something like that. Because you got to remember, I'm 36. I already got diamond coaching. You know what I mean? 10 years already. So a lot of coaches don't be done until they like 70.
Yeah.
Shit like that. You know what I mean? So I got some time.
Right. And what do you look for in a fighter to take them on?
I mean, just dedication. If you're going to be in the gym. Then I'm going to be in the gym because that's where I'm at anyway. So if you dedicated, I'll fuck with you. You know what I mean? So I got guys who come off the street. They don't really got too much of nothing. And I got guys that hurt you. You know what I mean? I got good guys. I got guys that's just like regular guys. But that's because I'm in the gym all day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Do you ever start working with somebody and then the personalities just don't, the chemistry's off, you just kind of part ways?
Yeah, that happens a lot because what happens is with guys, they think because I'm younger that they could come in the gym and tell me what to do. Or they think they're going to pitch all these crazy ideas and think I'm going to go with it. I ain't that kind of guy.
Nah.
No, we going to do what I need you to do. Or, you know what I mean? I don't care. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure. Shit. Okay, so which of your fighters are you most excited about right now?
Well, we got Avery Sparrow. I'm working with Avery Sparrow with Rasheem Jefferson. Me and him working him together, and he'll be fighting this Saturday versus Tevin Farmer. So that's gonna be an exciting fight.
Oh, okay.
I got an undefeated lightweight by the name of Jabril Noble. To me, man, he gonna be one of the best fighters in the world. I think one day. And I also just took on within the last few weeks Jesse Hart. So
okay. Wow. Wow. So who do you think, kind of shifting gears a little bit, of all of the current, because like right now I feel like the lightweight / junior welter, whatever, The 135 to 140, right? That's probably the livest divisions in boxing, right? You have all these superstars.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the top dog out of all those guys?
I mean, to be honest, it's hard to say one, but I'll break them down in category.
Okay.
I think Tank is the most dangerous.
Agreed.
I think Devin Haney is the smartest.
Okay.
I think Shakur is the sharpest. I think Richard Hitchens is the complete package.
Okay.
I think we got, I think also the most dangerous, Subriel Matias.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I think Tio is the most slept on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's the most slept on.
Even after what he just did.
Yeah. I think who else we got? Prograde. I think Prograde can run in the race still, but I think he's fading.
Okay.
Who else we got? I mean, it's a bunch of guys.
You got Loma. Where do you put Loma?
Lomo's still one of the sharpest around, but I think he's fading simply because, think about it, all the years training. I think he's just getting tired. You know what I mean? I think that last round, if he would have fought that last round harder with Devin, yeah. I think he could have pulled it.
Yeah. Who do you think won that fight?
I had it a draw, right? And then I watched it again. I still kind of had it a draw, but I feel like Devin getting to his body like that, and nobody never getting that close to Lomachenko and really touching his body. Even when the old head beat him, he didn't get that close to his body. Even when Tio beat him, he didn't get that close to his body. He didn't get to touch him like that. Tio just mainly had him aware the whole fight, like had him like shook a little bit, like, oh, like I didn't know that shit was that hard. But Devin actually got up close and personal and was slamming on his body. Now, did he touch Devin too? Yeah, he touched Devin. A lot of little flurries here and there, but I was feeling like people was taking the times he threw the flurries and was like, oh, he won that round. But I'm like, yo, that was a fucking 8-second spurt. And I'm like, what about the rest of the round? You know what I mean? So after watching it, I had a 7-5 Devin Haney close fight, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I watched it the first time I saw it live. I had Haney winning. The second time I rewatched it, I had Loma winning, but by a round. But what I don't get about this fight is so many people were screaming robbery. And when a fight is so close, how can you scream robbery?
Well, you got to remember, we talking about fans. You know what I mean? The fans have a voice now. So because the fans have a voice, you know what I mean? You hearing all kinds of shit. And the reason people are speaking on it is because they betting on it. You know what I mean? And you know people don't like losing money. You know what I mean?
Kind of reminds me of I might be in the minority here, but when Tim Bradley fought Pacquiao the first time and he beat him, I thought that fight was close, but the majority of people thought it was the biggest robbery in history.
Yeah. And that's because of who's the favorite and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is what it is. The game.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. So, and I got one more. That's the sleeper. My man is Isaac Cruz, big sleeper.
Yeah, he could fight.
He'll hurt you.
He could fight. So who, if you could even answer this, of all of those guys, if you did a tournament, who would win?
It's tough to say, man. Like I said, I think it's tough to say because in boxing now, we even talking like this because they don't make these fights early enough.
Right.
They wanted to build and build and build till it almost kind of fades away. You know what I mean? And we may only see a couple of these fights. And that's why you got to give Devin Haney and Lomachenko credit because they got it in. But we got so many other guys. It's like it's hard to really say. Who's my favorite? I'm not gonna lie because I got to see him train, spar, up close and personal. Tank.
Me too.
I seen Shakur before. I seen Richard Hitchens before. I seen Tio. I seen these guys, but Tank to me is I never seen. Nah, I ain't gonna say never, but it's been a long time since I seen a guy that focused on that level.
Wow,
he's super. When he's locked in, he's different.
He's an amazing fighter, and he doesn't get credit for his boxing skill.
Right?
They think he's just a banger, but he's not.
Yeah, and that's fine, because if people keep looking at it that way, he gonna keep knocking people
Yeah,
out.
yeah. I mean, I think him versus Shakur. I think him and Shakur are the two top dogs of that crop. But Tio's kind of a wild card. Like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he beat everybody, but then I wouldn't be surprised if he lost. I just can't place it.
Yeah, Tio is definitely the wild card of that pick, because he got the shit to beat you, but it's like, which Tio is showing up that night?
Right. And he, you know, I know him. I've spoken to him a bunch of times. He had two excuses for losing each of his fights. And, you know, look, every fighter has an excuse when they lose, and a lot of times it's real. Nobody wants to hear it,
Yeah,
but some shit could be going on, right?
it's
The
always.
first one, he had a medical condition where he even released a doctor's thing and all that. And then the second one, his father was saying to me, like, look, I made him just not box. I told him to go knock people out, and that fucked up his flow, and that's why he lost to Kambosos and the weight drain. So those were his excuses. But then when you see him look so good against Josh Taylor, you think, well, maybe it's true.
Yeah, and timing has a lot to do with a lot of these things, and I feel like it was just his time. It was the right time. He caught Taylor at the right time. Taylor came in there with the wrong game plan. I mean, I can't say the wrong game plan. The game plan he had just didn't work. It happens.
No. Oh, and you know, I think most people thought Taylor was going to beat him.
Yeah, it happens.
You know, I was at that fight that was here, and there was a lot of dudes in skirts angry. A lot of Scotch people there. They were not happy. They were not happy. So you got the light heavyweight division, which is, you know, you got only 3 or 4 people, but great fights. You know, Bivol versus what's his face, Beterbiev.
Yeah, that's the only light heavyweight matchup I want to see.
And who wins that?
To be honest, I can't pick. I mean, Bivol is the better boxer. Great legs on him, great combination punching. Smart fighter. He know when to get in, he know when to get out. But we got to be honest. Beterbiev is the perfect predator. You know what I mean? He finds his way. And he will not stop until he have his way. So that's why it's hard to pick that fight.
I've heard some crazy stories about Beterbiev from one of his trainers, from people who've sparred him, that he has some Ivan Drago type. Like, his power is crazy, but not just his punching power, but his physical strength is on different levels.
Yeah, I can believe it. I seen him in person. I thought he was a heavyweight. He looked like a heavyweight.
He's a big dude. But, like, he kind of reminds me a little bit of how Kovalev and even Triple G, maybe it's a Russian thing. The punches, when they were thrown, didn't look that hard.
Yeah.
The dude would just crumble.
Yeah.
You know
he heavy-handed.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, he heavy-handed. You can see it. He got forearms like Popeye and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's a good fight. I think Benavidez will be at light heavyweight very soon.
Yeah.
He is one of my favorite fighters. I think he's underrated, because I don't think people give him the credit that he deserves. I mean, what do you think of Benavidez?
I mean, Benavidez is a young kid still, and he's done a lot with his age, but it's still a lot more to do. But if you sleep on him, I don't know how, because you usually don't get a man that size with that type of hand speed and power, you know what I mean, and toughness. Like, he's a tough kid too. He'll take a punch. So I think he'll be around for a long time. I think we'll see him around for a long time.
I agree, man. You know, everything you said is, and his defense, I think against Plant, he actually showed relatively good movement. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was the whole, like, oh, well, he walks people down, but what happens when he gets boxed? It's like, eh.
Yeah.
He
the type of fighter, you can't go in there and be too smart. You can't spend time trying to be way smarter than him. You got to react. You know what I mean? If you're not ready to just respond, then you might as well get out the ring.
Right. Good point. And I guess lastly, we got the heavyweights.
Yeah.
Which, who do you think is the best heavyweight?
Tyson Fury.
I agree.
You gotta understand, like, we talk about a giant, a real giant. 6'9", like, can dance. I mean, heavy. He could definitely be up to 305 pounds the night of the fight. I mean, it's tough to beat that. You know what I mean? But see, what makes it tough is because not just his size, his education. He's not the type of guy that just focusing on him being bigger than you. He wants to be technically better than you too. So he goes in there and box these guys' brains out. And you know what I mean, a lot of them, they look at him and they like, oh, he's fat and this and that. Like, well, that's just his frame. You know what I mean? He just built that way. I mean, you can't really focus on that, because then he'll definitely beat you. You know what I mean? You got to play him smart.
I think Sugar Hill should be locked up, because when he went to Sugar Hill created a murderer. Now he has punching power too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But really, is how could you not have power when you're 300 pounds?
I mean, Nikolai Valuev didn't have power, and he was.
Yeah, but Nikolai Valuev didn't have the athleticism of a Tyson Fury.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's one thing to be big, but then it's another thing to be big and be able to move the weight. You know what I mean? If you know how to control the weight, you know what I mean, then you can do some damage.
And how he puts his weight on his opponents, leans on them, you know, and his will. I heard Emmanuel Stewart say that mentally the toughest fighters he's ever been around was Tyson Fury, and this was before Fury was Fury.
Yeah, and that's what makes a great fighter. If he's mentally tough, and you can get you something, you can make some money, and you can be great if you're mentally. But you got to be able to weather the storm. A lot of guys can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, the one guy I got my eye on is Jared Anderson.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's a scary dude. He could fight.
Yeah, but I think honestly they're gonna keep Jared Anderson busy, but they're gonna keep him away from guys like Wilder and guys like Fury.
You think so?
Yeah, because if you look at the frames, like Jared Anderson is a solid fighter, a really good fighter, but we talking about 6'4".
Right.
We talking about shooting guard. These guys are power forwards. They big dudes. You know what I mean? But they big dudes with great gifts. Deontay Wilder is possibly one of the hardest punchers of all time.
Easily.
Tyson Fury is one of the sharpest heavyweights you'll see in a long time, but with great size. So I feel like it'd be too much trouble for Jared Anderson right now for a fight like that. So I think what they're going to do is wait those guys out, let Jared Anderson just keep beating up the scraps, and then, you know, they'll find him some opponents later on to make him, you know what I mean, really step up to the plate. But right now, he's young. He can keep doing what he's doing.
It's weird. The heavyweight division is stagnant. You know, we have a few different matchups that we'd like to see, and nothing's happening. Yeah.
I mean, that's boxing, man. They want to get to the money first. It's money before matchups all day.
But they're not fighting, so nobody's making any money.
No, they gonna fight. The thing is, it's like, that's what all the rankings and shit is about. You know what I mean? They be holding guys off. There's plenty of fights they can make. Yeah, we know, but they want to get to these big money fights. And I heard Fury got like issues with coming over here, so that's why anybody that fights him, they got to go over there, overseas somewhere.
But you know what? He can demand that anyway, because he is.
He's the draw. What I mean? And that's what I'm saying. I think that's the whole thing.
Do you think?
And let's be honest, with all this action going on, I think they should chill for a little bit. It's a lot of shit going on.
Do you think Usyk beats Fury?
Usyk and Fury? No. I think Usyk is a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. Great fighter. But not enough physical body, and I don't know if his will is that strong of a man, like to really go in there and deal with that. That's a big order, man.
I agree.
Tyson Fury.
He's a cheat code. Yeah. He's a cheat code.
Yeah, he is.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't see it. Huh?
A creative player.
Yes. And I don't see anybody beating him. And then if you remove him, I still think Deontay beats anybody else, because he, like you said, he's probably the hardest puncher in history. And I've never seen a fighter that, I mean, it just takes one punch. Yeah. And like I know people have said that about other, like Foreman, but Wilder, really, it just takes one punch.
Yeah, he'll hurt you bad. Cause even if he don't, let's say he don't knock you out, right? He punches hard enough to change your mind.
Yeah.
He'll make you be on defense all night. You be like, I don't want to create no openings.
When I hear people say, "Oh, all he has is a right hand and he's garbage," and it's like, when your 43 wins are all knockouts, this isn't just a lucky punch anymore. There's something there, and you got to give it respect.
You have to. You better.
Yeah.
don't have to be scared, but you better get the fuck
My
out of there.
my theory is partially because I look at it, I'm like, what makes those punches so hard?
Mm.
And I think it has a lot to do with how he punches down almost on everybody.
Mm.
You know, because you get so much more leverage if you're punching down.
Well, I peeped one thing about him. When I seen him in New York, I think it was early this year or last year, he's very skinny, right?
His legs, like,
He's very skinny. Now, remember what we was talking about with Tyson Fury being able to carry his weight. Now, think about this. This guy is so big and skinny, he can create speed that you can't really see at heavyweight. So when he's loading up that right hand, he fires that right hand because he's slim. That right hand is coming at an accuracy and like a speed, like almost like a missile. You know what I mean?
you know,
So
I get what you're saying, but like his last fight, I was at that fight where he knocked out Helenius. That didn't look hard.
it didn't look hard, but if you paid attention, it was like a car crash. Helenius was coming this way, the punch, boom, smacked him out. You know what I mean? It was a car crash.
Klitschko was similar with his. He bored the shit out of me, but he would just drop that right hand down on people and just knock everybody out.
Yeah, and Klitschko was good technical. They was both good technical boxers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was good. He was good. I really enjoyed watching Tyson Fury beat him.
Vitali was more aggressive, but you know what I mean? They threw some good shots. And like you said, the height allowed them to punch down on you. So it was creating different speed, different angles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And, you know, Lennox did it the right way, man. He retired because a lot of fighters couldn't do that. A lot of fighters couldn't have a fight where a lot of people thought that they were losing and just walk away from it.
True.
You know, the ego. And I get it. Like, I'd probably be the same way.
Yeah. And I don't think Lennox was in the best of shape that fight. You know what I mean?
No.
And the love probably went out the window. He probably was like, I don't love this shit no more.
Yeah. Nah, I agree, man. It was a lot of exciting fights coming up, man. Well, look, man, thanks for talking to me. I don't want to hold you. Let's do it again.
No, for sure. Get with me.
All right, peace.
I appreciate you, bro.
All right, you too.
Hey guys, please subscribe and smash that like button. And if there's any fighters you want us to interview or anything else, any questions or comments, hit us up. We're here for you.